The finals now has 34 gadgets and 10 specializations, but because of the way some of them are designed, it feels like we only have about half of that. The weaker designs are either nearly useless or have effects so minimal that they get overshadowed by stronger gadgets. In today's video, we'll go over how, in my opinion, we could fix all of the weaker gadgets in the game, making them much more viable. Some require minimal adjustments, while others need major reworks. If you enjoyed this type of video, please let me know in the comments. And that being said, let's get into it. Starting with the universal gadgets, we have the flashbang. This is my favorite throwable at the moment, and after spending so much time using it, I can pinpoint exactly what the problem is. Yes, it can feel weak, but changing how the blind effect is applied to players wouldn't work. Removing the effect from yourself would make it overpowered, and so would removing it from teammates, as it would become the most used gadget in competitive play. One player could just spam the nades from outside the room, while teammates run in and fight completely blinded opponents who can't fight back. In my experience, the real issue preventing the flash from becoming much stronger is its fuse time. Too often I find myself waiting outside the room for what feels too long given the game's fast pace. I understand that enemies should have time to react, but the current duration isn't long enough to let them move behind cover. So shortening the fuse time would make it much better. Moving on to the pyro grenade. I assume they are meant for area denial, but they don't really excel at that. To improve them in that regard, I'd make them gradually spread fire over a wider area. And finally, the smoke grenades, which in my opinion suffers from the same problem as the flashbang. The fuse time should be shorter and the deploy time should be much faster. When using it, it always feels like it doesn't provide cover quickly enough. This buff to the smoke would make its synergy with another gadget much stronger. And this brings me to the first entry for the light class, the thermal vision. Right now, the thermal vision is mainly used to spot an opposing light player faster while they're invisible, but the main issue is that all canisters get highlighted as well, which is very distracting. Removing the highlight or at least changing its color is mandatory. As mentioned with the smoke grenade, the combo would become very strong. Yes, you still take up 2 equipment slots, but simply buffing the smoke without addressing the thermal vision would make this combo extremely frustrating to fight against, especially for mediums and heavies who would have no counterplay. To fix this, give the thermal vision users glowing eyes while it's active. This way, even if they're shooting from inside the smoke, you can still spot them. However, should these glowing eyes disappear when using invisibility? Or should they remain visible? What do you guys think about that? The next gadget on this list is the breaching charge. The breaching charge is effective for breaking structures, but its placement delay makes it clunky in fast-paced situations, meaning that trying to use it as a defensive tool requires incredible timing, reducing its possible applications in game. A good way to buff them would be to severely reduce the priming time, allowing for players to throw one at their feet much more quickly to either deal a bit of damage to a pursuing enemy or break, for example, the stairs going up, which medium players love to do with the dematerializer. Next, we get the thermal bore, which takes a bit fair of time to activate, but I honestly believe that's a good thing. Having the ability to quickly destroy cover from a distance and then follow up with the long-range option the class offers would be too strong. However, since we want to make the smoke grenade stronger, it would be nice to have an option to counter the smoke thermal vision combo. What if we made the thermal bore capable of moving, not removing, but moving smoke? For example, if an enemy drops a smoke grenade, you could shoot at the smoke to create a light-sized hole through it. Hopefully the engine can handle it without causing too much lag. Next up, the tracking dart, which isn't good enough for how fast-paced the game is. One way to improve it is by introducing a stacking mechanic, where multiple darts extend the tracking time. Another option would be to give the dart a reveal radius. So if the tracked enemy moves too close to teammates, they also get marked as long as they stay within the radius. Since this gadget is already strong in competitive play, balancing it by reducing the ammo to 3 would be a good idea. Moving on, we finally get to the medium class. And our first entry is the APS turret, which is great for countering throwables, but since we're also buffing grenades, I wouldn't buff the APS itself. Instead, I'd add the ability to throw the turret like any other canister, making it quicker and more accessible to clear mines from a cache out. This change could also lead to some crazy teammate saving moment without requiring an actual canister to deploy the turret onto. Next up, we get the Guardian turret, and the Guardian turret is just trash. I honestly don't know how to fix it without completely reworking the gadget. Don't get me wrong, it does what it's supposed to do, but the problem is that you have no reason to pick it over the other two options. I feel like the only solution would be to turn the Guardian turret into a drone that follows you, a system with either very low damage or some other effect. However, it would have to be destroyable with one shot to prevent it from being overpowered. And next up we get the Data Reshaper, which is strong already but rarely used. And since we've buffed both turrets, the Data Reshaper has essentially received a buff as well. And in my opinion, that's more than enough. Finally, we get to the Heavy class. Starting with the Anti-Gravity Cube. A fix would be to make him move objects and players up a little bit faster. We want to use it for vertical movement. Not as fast as a jump pad, but just enough that it doesn't feel painfully slow like it does now. So we need to find that sweet spot. And the second gadget on this list is the Goo Gun. The change I suggest for the Goo Gun is to let it shoot a wall of goo with the alternative fire button. Just like the Goo Grenade, by pressing the right click, you shoot a wall that can be used defensively. Would this replace the Goo Grenade? Not really, they belong to two completely different categories. The Goo Gun is a special, and the Goo Grenade is a gadget. If you just wanted a goo wall, you would pick the Goo Grenade and you still be able to take something like the Winch Call or the Charge and Slam, while the Goo Gun would still offer highly defensive setups. Anyway, those are my fixes for every gadget in the finals. Some need buffs, other reworks, but overall these changes would make the game more balanced and fun for everyone. Let me know in the comments which gadget you think needs fixing the most, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. That being said, see you next time.